Welcome back to the Crypto's Key conversation. There's some two major topics that I want to talk about in this video here. The first one being Coinbase CEO says SEC told it to delist everything but Bitcoin prior to them actually suing Coinbase. And then this whole finally Chairman Gensler and the SEC, step up and actually go after the quote unquote, bad actors, as they say in the community here. It says U.S. SEC sues Richard Hart HEX Pulse Chain on unregistered securities fraud allegations. So there's a lot I want to tap into with that, but we're going to start with Chairman Gensler and his reign of terror on the crypto space. And I think DAI kind of hits on the head here when it comes to, we're talking about Bitcoin in particular, but just Chairman Gensler in general. So he goes, DAI says, how does the SEC know Bitcoin is not a security without calling Homeland to set up a meeting with the four Satoshis? And he added Hester Pierce in there. So obviously we know when it comes to secondary market sales of Bitcoin, based on especially the ruling from George Torres when it comes to XRP being declared not a security, right? We know that Bitcoin being sold in the secondary market is a security, but I think he's saying just the overwhelming concept of just fairness and how, without lawful and legal regulatory clarity or clarity in general for Bitcoin, like how can you just give that blanket statement, oh, Bitcoin's fine, right? But you still haven't spoken on Ethereum, and you clearly saying the rest of the market are securities, right? So it just ties into this reign of terror that Chairman Gensler has, and clearly trying to devastate and depress the crypto market, right, for his masters, if you will. But we're going to listen into this because I think it says a lot here. So let's listen in.
Public is investing in your project because they're anticipating profits based upon the efforts of that project or those entrepreneurs. Congress painted with a broad brush.
I mean, Kathy, that you're going to hold to your Bitcoin forecast for, $1 million per coin by 2030. That still feels good to you.
Yes, and you can, sometimes you need to battle test. You need to go through crises to see who the real, to see the survivors, first of all, but really to battle test the infrastructure and the thesis.
And I would ask you this, it's like when you look at a token, you can find a website, you can find a CEO, you can find a Twitter or X feed, whatever it's called these days. And there are entrepreneurs behind many of these projects without, again, prejudging any one of them.
We looked at Bitcoin.
So, and he's showing the, that Homeland Security's lady talking about how they sent an agent to go meet with the four Satoshi. So that's this part of the video here. But I just wanted to just, clearly what he's saying here, he's saying you can go find these things, right? Well, if you don't already know, how come you're not going out to find the four Satoshis or, who's behind the whole Bitcoin thing, right? Obviously, we've been speculating based on the evidence that we have. They know what's up. They're trying to tell us one thing but do another thing. Here's the thing. There hasn't been any sort of, from my understanding, any sort of case law, judgments, real legal and lawful regulatory clarity for Bitcoin, but they just kind of given it its free pass, which is, hey, cool. I had a Bitcoin in my portfolio. Okay, that's great, right? But that's the whole point. It's like, how are you saying this for Bitcoin, but you're casting, everything else into the classification of a security, right? Because it meets his agenda. That's the shameful part of it. And I think Eleanor Terrett hits it on the head here. She goes, so do we finally know where Gary Gensler stands on Ethereum? And she says this because of this whole Coinbase CEO says SEC told it to delist everything but Bitcoin. It says Brian Armstrong claimed SEC staff said all cryptocurrencies but Bitcoin are securities and requested the exchange to delist all other cryptocurrencies. So here's the thing, right? Clearly, Chairman Gensler's tactic has been overregulation by enforcement, right? They're trying to scare off these blockchain companies and these businesses and these entrepreneurs, right? Trying to scare them into settlement or, scare them into bankruptcy, right? That's the strategy. Go after the little guys. Obviously, trying to go after the big guy didn't work in their favor when it came to Ripple, but that's their strategy, right? So what if, obviously, when it came to Brian Armstrong and Coinbase throwing out their Lend product, right? If they had just like when Chairman Gensler pretty much threatened them saying that we're going to come after you if you start this Lend product, and Brian Armstrong and Coinbase didn't do it, right? So say that, they cowered and rolled over when they said you need to delist everything but Bitcoin. What kind of precedent would that have set going forward? How much strength would that have given Chairman Gensler and his people in his corner? How much power would that have given him and leverage over the market? that would have showed like, oh, okay, well, look what Brian Armstrong and Coinbase, one of the biggest exchanges in the United States, they delisted all of these. And clearly showing that these are securities. Why would they delist them if they're not securities? Like that would have been the narrative that they pushed. But no, Brian Armstrong, Paul Graywall, and Coinbase fought back, which, we wish they would have fought back earlier, but hey, they fought back. But that's just the shady tactics of Chairman Gensler and the SEC. It's like, what do you mean delist all of them but Bitcoin? Okay, it goes back to what DAI was saying. How do you know Bitcoin is not a security without calling Homeland Security to set up the meeting with the 4 Satoshis? I mean, it's the truth, man. It's crazy. But we're going to continue on here. Okay, if it loads up, my computer's been acting up today. So Crypto Law had put this up, and Stuart Alderati, I mean, you talk about the ultimate slap in the face, wittiness, just cleverness, the bully bullied you all these years, and I came back with, some thunder. This is kind of what Stuart Alderati did in this video, and you're going to see, because he takes Chairman Gensler's style of, praising himself and what the SEC is doing, right, and literally flips it on its head and in a sense does it the right way. And here he's explaining what digital assets are, what investment contracts is, and how we apply and all these things, right? Just hits it on the head, right? So JD in Crypto Law says, Judge Torres, the XRP token is not a security. Chairman Gensler, explain it to me like I'm 5. And then he points down to Stuart Alderati. So we're going to listen to this because you're going to see the animations, the editing. It's literally Chairman Gensler and the SEC's video that they put out, but Stuart Alderati just hitting it with facts, right? Let's listen into this.
What do digital assets have to do with orange groves, barrels filled with whiskey, payphones? Who remembers those? And beavers? Well, it turns out a lot. None of those things, standing alone, are securities. But any one of them can be packaged into a contract for an investment that may be a security. Huh?
It's just genius.
Let me break this down a bit. The law lists a bunch of things that are securities. That list includes things you ordinarily think of, like a share of stock. Why is a share of stock always a security? If you own a share of stock in, let's say, Apple owes you a fiduciary duty, and you can hold Apple accountable if they don't fulfill those obligations. That's true no matter how you bought the stock or who sold it to you. But the law also includes something called an investment contract in the list of things considered a security. An investment contract is not like a traditional share of stock. And anyone who tells you that, well, let's just say they're trying to confuse you. Investment contracts are contracts that
So you can go in and watch the rest of the video, but I mean, shout out to Alderati and his team that helped him put this together. That is completely genius, and it's a definitely ultimate slap in the face with being truthful, justful, and just being right in the facts to Chairman Gensler. But yeah, you guys can watch the rest of it. But the overwhelming point is he's literally just throwing out what the facts are and how investment contracts all relate, if you will, to digital assets and what digital assets actually are. Commodities. These aren't securities, right? And it's all about the whole packaging, as they say, it's how you package it. When it comes to secondary market sales and when it comes to the crypto space in general, like we know that these are commodities. That just is what it is. But yeah, he breaks it down in his genius, and I like some of the replies. It says, fantastic, epic level response to Gary Gensler, deceitful claims about digital assets. And then you have E here says, hard to believe Ripple spent nearly 3 years and $200 million fighting the SEC in a case that could have been settled with a 3.5 minute video. And then Jeremy Hogan says, this is a great explainer video. But Stu's genius is that he was able to steal Chair Gensler's social media editor away. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It was like, dang, man, this is dialed in, man. Clearly, when it comes to being in Ripple's camp, XRP, the XRP army, the XRP community, like we've truly been right. We've been validated in what we've all fought for and what we all believed in. And it's amazing to see that we are on the right side of history and the right side of the law, man. It's a beautiful thing. And now you're seeing a lot of strength. Like, they go from not saying as much on social media in particular to now they can actually talk. And obviously when the emails and the documents got released, they were coming out talking about it. Like, and that was just, it was for me, it was like during the grind, if you will, the early phases where they couldn't say much and we didn't know much of what's going on, and all we could rely on was, the legal minds within our community, but they can only say so much based on the evidence that they had, right? For them to, Stu Alderati, Bragg Allen House, for them to actually come out and start talking, like it just was like, oh wow, they really were fighting for, not just for Ripple the company, right? They were really fighting for all of us, like they were. And they were trying to do it to the best of their abilities. And luckily, we stepped up in regards of JD, the class action lawsuit, XRP Army. Like, we stepped up to, put our hand and put our name in the hat, to add strength to our corner. But speaking of Chairman Gensler and the SEC, right? Hey, look at this. It says, whoa. What? Okay, right here it says, U.S. SEC sues Richard Hart HEX Pulse Chain on unregistered securities fraud allegation. Hart raised over $1 billion across the different unregistered securities offerings, the SEC alleged. So coming over here, Will Clemente puts it up. He puts this document up. Here goes the complaint. You have Pulse Chain, plaintiff SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission. So here's the thing. The reason why I'm bringing this up, because I've known of HEX and Richard Hart, for some years now, and I never personally jumped into it. I've never really felt comfortable with it. To each of their own. I'm not judging anyone for it. If you've been involved, if you made money, then great. If you've been hurt, then that's tragic. But for the SEC to finally, and I mean finally, even address it or even, look into it, like this means something. And, there's been a lot of people speculating on whether he was doing things shady wise, fraudulent, or whatever case. And I know there was a lot of speculation of him taking, moving money from, their, we could say community pool, moving it into private wallets and buying certain things and showing this lavish life, all the speculative things, could be true, could be not. I mean, it is what it is. Obviously, now he's under the microscope of the SEC and all the other digital assets that they have. Let me see. It says, I think it's HEX, Pulse Chain, and Pulse X. So it says, today we charge Richard Hart, a.k.a. Richard Schuler, and 3 unincorporated entities that he controls, HEX, Pulse Chain, and Pulse X, with conducting unregistered offerings of crypto asset securities that raise over more than $1 billion in crypto assets for investors. Hart called on investors to buy crypto asset securities and offerings that he failed to register. He then defrauded those investors by spending some of their crypto assets on exuberant luxury. I'm going to say exuberant luxury goods. This action seeks to protect the investing public and hold Hart accountable for his actions. Okay, so what about, Terra Luna Do Kwon and Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX? Like, you were meeting with SBF and stuff. And it's like, why weren't you going after them? You know what I'm saying? It's crazy, man. Chairman Gensler is a trip. And I wanted to end on this. Let me come over here real quick. We're currently sitting at a $1.2 trillion market cap. Bitcoin sitting at 29,214. Ethereum sitting at 1854. And then XRP sitting at 69 cents. Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index sitting at a 50. I wanted to end on this because I covered this in yesterday's video. The whole Wells Fargo lady, she was talking about XRP possibly hitting $100 to $500 in the next 2 to 7 months. So, and I talked about, like, it's really interesting. People can speculate, people can throw all these numbers and the utilities and the what ifs and the what if that. That's all good with me. You want to do that. Sometimes it's exciting to kind of dream, if you will, and just kind of look at a bunch of different things. That's cool. For me in particular, the reason why I wanted to bring this up in this video is it goes to what I was saying in my last video. Remember why you're doing what you're doing. Remember what your why is, what motivates you. And, why are you in particular, hodling XRP and accumulating XRP? And, why are you waiting? Why did you wait throughout the entire lawsuit, to get the victory? And why are you waiting for a new all-time high? And what is it going to do with your in your life? How is gains and profits going to impact your life? Because if you're really waiting around for that $100 to $500, I mean, you could be waiting a very long time. I'm one to believe that XRP can do anything really when it comes to price action, but to really say, oh, we're going to hit 100 to 500 in the next 2 to 7 months, for me in particular, I've been around too long to believe that's a real thing. And quite honestly, I'm just going to say this, like I said in the last video, don't miss out on the little things and the important moments in your life. If you have the ability, per your investing and profit taking strategy, to take profit to make your life better, or to be more present with your family or your kids, or to pay off debts or whatever, You know what I'm saying? Just be diligent about it and really think it through. You know, obviously it's never financial advice on this channel. I'll just explain from my experience. And for me in particular, I'm not going to wait for 100 to 500. You know, obviously I have a certain allocation of my portfolio that, you know, I will hodl down the line, you know, 5, 10, 15 years from now. But, you know, I'm really looking to stick to my profit taking strategy, my investment strategy, and, you know, take profit, you know, when we start hitting certain targets, because I want to do for my kids now. I want to have experiences and make memories with my kids now. And if I just say, oh, I'm going to wait till $100, I could be missing a lot. And that just can't be. So be very careful out there, especially if you're a new investor in the space. Like, don't sit there and wait for, you know, $100. Really take a step back and listen. And, you know, listen to yourself, listen to your significant other, and see, come out with a plan and a strategy and see what works best for you and your family. Because at the end of the day, that's all that matters. And that's all I wanted to say. You know, never financial advice, just kind of my opinion on that. Make sure you come to the Crypto is Key Conversation YouTube channel, subscribe, follow us on Twitter at CryptoIsKey1. Really appreciate your support out there, you guys. With all that being said, stay strong out there and be safe.